Hey, Michael, thanks so much for joining me today to talk about your crowdfunding campaign. The exciting thing is your crowdfunding campaign is still live, so viewers can actually go check it out and hopefully even invest in it whilst it's still running. Do you want to just start us off by telling a little bit, what your business is and what you're crowdfunding for?
Um, Thanks for the opportunity, Jess. My name is Michael Lawal. I'm the founder and the CEO of Sendit.money. What we are building is we're building an infrastructure, payment infrastructure for the emerging economies in Africa and Asia. And we're connecting underserved communities across the world into our global financial system. The normal conversation has always been immigrant workers working really hard and sending money back home. That's the normal media's stereotypical narration. But the difference is that those emerging economies as well, there's over $1.2 trillion market in terms of international students leaving their home country in Africa and Asia, coming into Europe and US and developed nations to study. And most often, these people rely back on their families to receive money. We have SMEs in terms of traders, which my mom was a trader when I was growing up. So I used to hear my mom scream on the phone when her money got stolen or exchange rate fluctuation goes up. I never knew what the problem was until I actually came face to face to try to send £200 from Kenya into the UK. And I was like, okay, today people can use the like of TransferWise and other existing competitors out there to send money from the UK to the part of the world. But when people actually send the money from the other part of the world into UK and the rest of the developed nation, it is really difficult. So that's the niche market we're focusing on. We're making it easy for people to send and receive money. It's one single wallet. Everywhere you travel in the world, we make your life easy by sending and receiving and spending in one single wallet, just like ABC.
That's amazing. I love that ever since a child, you knew this problem was existing and you just, you then encountered it yourself. I mean, I bet your mum wishes this was around when she was doing her trading, right?
I see. I never knew it was a problem because typical teenager, isn't it? He's just like, okay, why was she screaming on the phone for now? And it is literally now growing, now realizing, oh my God. Let me give you an example. Africa has 54 countries. And like, a lot of people think Africa is a country, right? That's the typical perception. But Africa is a continent that is bigger than Europe, bigger than US, bigger than China and India all combined in one landmass, okay? Now, this continent has 54 countries, 54 different currencies. None of those currencies interact with each other. So if someone is traveling from Kenya into Ghana, which is just like 4 hours flight, right, within the same continent, they have to transfer Kenyan shillings into USD. And when they get to Ghana, they now have to convert USD into Kenyan shillings. So for just going from one place to another within the same continent, they've lost money for exchanges 4 times.
Oh my God. I mean, well done, America, only having one currency, right? And lucky Europe with the euro.
Euro, yeah.
That's crazy. So just to get everyone up to speed, your target on Crowdcube was 100K. You've already raised 124K from 278 investors. What type of process did you go through before you launched the campaign? When was that moment that you thought, do you know what? I think we're going to crowdfund this rather than go down any other traditional routes?
If I'm pretty honest, with which I am, is I was one of those people who was skeptical of crowdfunding.
Oh, I love those people.
Because the idea of having over like 100 people, so there's a lot of misconception out there when it comes to crowdfunding. So they thought that I've raised money from angel in the past. I'm a second-time founder, and I was an active angel investor for about 3 years myself. So I never crowdfund. This is my first time going through the experience, and it's been amazing. Because you think, oh my God, I'm gonna have like over 200 people on my cap table. But I never knew it doesn't work like that until we actually went through the process. The moment that I think crowdfunding is for us, it's something that's quite painful, and I think society is getting there. It's really hard for Black funders to raise money, and as an investor myself in the past, it's easy for investors to say, oh, how big is the market, all those kind of metrics. But the key thing is investing is about credibility, and that credibility is about relationship and trust. Unfortunately, the custodians of wealth today, most of them do not look like people like me. So it's really hard in terms of building that trust and finding people from my community credible enough to build a unicorn company, because they don't see most black funders being a unicorn company on the TV screen. All right. So we got to that moment where we're having conversation with angel investors, and they're pretty exciting. Like, this is a great idea. And then we keep having 10, 20 conversations. I'm like, you're wasting my time resources. If you're going to invest, let me know. It's like, do not waste my time. I don't want to be one of those like tick box, like I've just spoken to a black funder today. I don't want to be a tick boxes. You don't need to, we black funders were over mentored, right? But there's no much investment out there for us. So it was that moment that I thought, okay, if these angel investors are happy, they keep having conversations, it's like, they're not really going to invest. They're just happy to be talking to a black funder. It's a harsh reality, but I actually personally came face to face with that reality. And I thought, you know what, let's just go crowdfunding. Let's try this out. So I have an angel investor that was willing to invest 50K. And there was another one that was willing to invest £100,000. But the one that was investing £100,000, the conversation was taking longer than usual. And then I told the one with the 50K and said, are you happy for us to go crowdfunding? He said, I'm very skeptical. I don't know about it. I just applied on Crowdcube, and the process has been kind of amazing. It's been learning curve for me as well. And I will advise most B2C company, beyond just going to raise money, it's validation. In our case, we have over 200 investors that have invested right now. And out of those over 200 investors, you'll be shocked the amount of conversation I've had from people saying, oh, I love what you're building. This is definitely going to work. Good luck. If you need help, come to me. So communities are the heart of what we're building. We're not just another payment company. We're not just another unicorn. We're a community of people trying to solve financial exclusion problem across the world. And that is our why. That's what keeps me awake and my team awake every morning that gets us to work. So.
And so do you find that it's easier then to build that trust and credibility with the 278 investors through crowdfunding than it was through one or two angel investors?
I'll probably put it this way. 80% of people that have invested in the Crowdcube today, they at some point have faced the problem. I'll give you an example. There's a gentleman that invested over £1,000 from France. The guy has lived in Francophone African countries. The guy knew what he faced while he was in those countries. So he could mentally, instantly relate to the solution we're bringing out there and the possibility of the network effect that solution we have in the emerging economies of Africa. So those crowds, not that they know me or they know the team, but most of them are people who probably face that problem today. They agree with us that the problem is huge, and they agree with that solution that if we get it right, this solution is not just another payment solution white labeled, because we're actually building our technology in-house. So it's not just another white label, let's give it another name and go to market. This is actually getting to the root of the problem, because I grew up seeing my mom go through the problem. I faced that problem as we speak today. So that unfair advantage in terms of the understanding of the community and the problem itself is one of those reasons why most of those investors today probably face those challenges or believe our solution will solve those challenges.
That makes sense. And then obviously having investors that already know the problem makes it so much easier because, yeah, emotionally they can connect with it and they understand that obviously this is the right way forward. How did you go about getting in front of those investors? What type of marketing tactics or, channels did you use successfully in order to get in front of those? And also, was there anything that you tried that just absolutely failed that you thought would work and was like, oh, that didn't?
I will probably say going via various platforms. Oh, there's a lot of angel network platform out there. I can tell you 80% of them are just shambles. That's one of the things I've learned, and I wish of any founder watching this can learn from that mistake as well. What I realize is it's about building that relationship, and I keep talking about that. It's about that credibility. The person thinks, is this person credible enough to actually do what they said they will do? Can they execute? And that's what I've seen from people invested in us. I go to my network, so I have a huge network. So most of the funding has actually come from most of my network. So if you don't have a huge network, it might be a little bit difficult to kind of get your target. I'll just go to them and say, you already know me, we solving this problem. Those people already knew what I'm capable of and I have resources and opportunity. And they knew that my key strength is execution. And they were able to like, we know you're gonna do this and we can support you in a simple way. It's not a lot of money. Some of them give me £5,000 investment, 1,500. And I'm very grateful to all of them if they're watching this. It's to say, it's in times of those investors are invested in us on CrowdCube today, is building that trust is through engagement. Where I realize is LinkedIn is very powerful. If you're trying to make an outreach, there's a lot. Twitter, it's something I discovered very late. Twitter is very powerful if you're trying to raise money. If you're trying to make an outreach to angel investors, it's Twitter. If you're trying to get most institutional and VC investors, especially in the UK, there's more investors from the UK on LinkedIn than Twitter. There's more US investors on Twitter than LinkedIn. So you need to understand those dynamics. That's things I have to learn the hard way when trying to kind of reach into people. And to me, it's just like people have time, just be human. I sent email I sent message on LinkedIn to over 1,000 people in the UK.
Wow.
And then we receive about 100 of those people. And we end up having 50 of those people giving us over £80,000 before we even went live.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was going to say, you know, how much did you prepare and secure before you went live versus, you know, once you went live to the public, what happened then?
Before we went live, I quite love how the CrowdCube system work. You first have the first phase, which is kind of crowd mapper. They give you a little bit of a tool and you reach out to people and you send a link to people and people can say, okay, I'm going to commit to invest this. That's not an investment. You should prepare to have like 20% drop rate from that. So before we even went live, we already have over 40 people who will say, we're going to give you about £60,000 before we went live. And then that gives us that confidence that we've got to over 50% of our initial raise. So before we even went live on public live on CrowdCube, we already received over 50% of our initial target. And then before we actually went public live as well, what we've done is we utilize those people. You'll be shocked. So there's about 10 investors that said, we're going to invest. And I said, okay, thank you for believing in us. Would you mind if you help us tell your network?
Clever. Love it.
And we got about £15,000 just using those who already will invest to help us reach out to their network. So yeah, that's another thing I learned from there as well.
If they're interested and they've had that problem themselves, like, you know, chances are their friends have too. I always tell people with whatever you've got, like reasons for having friends, you've always got something in common. And if that something in common is the thing that's going to, you know, help with the crowdfunding campaign, you've got to build on those. And it's that ripple effect that really works.
Absolutely. It is actually. Yeah, that's very spot on.
And then have you had any PR for your campaign so far? Are you planning on getting any?
I am someone who believes that until there's crisis, PR it can be counterproductive, unless you already have a crisis. So if you have a child, a daycare, and you have a child that dies in a daycare, then that is crisis. There's got to be PR to manage that. But to me, it's literally using people. Words of mouth has helped us. It's having people, friends, and connections and industry experts tweeting about us on Twitter, writing short snippets about us on LinkedIn. Those things are validation. We've been through various accelerators before we even went live. We have a backing of Oxford University, for example. We're going through Barclays, Eagle Labs, Black Founders Accelerator as we speak. We've been through the Oxford University LIBA project program. I have an open collaboration research with Oxford University. So those to people is just validation. What is the network you have out there that can help you execute really fast? People will look into that. And it's a journey. Before going live on CrowdCube, we've worked for almost 12 to 13 months. We've built that validation. We've validated the market. We've built a prototype. So people will look into this journey. Okay, these guys have actually been moving. It's not just to wake up at night and say, I'm going to go crowdfunding. It doesn't work like that.
No. Perfect. And then, You say we a lot, and obviously on your Crowdcube page, we can see that you've got a team helping you out on this. Obviously, they're involved in the business. Are they also helping you with the crowdfunding campaign? How did you kind of delegate roles if they are?
Like you rightly said, you can see most of my statement is we. And the way, to me, the backbone of any company is the people, whether from the employees to the founders, to the customers. I'm a very big on believer in stakeholder theory. And to me, anyone can copy an idea. I've been an investor myself. If like, yeah, is this idea defensible? No idea is defensible. The only thing that is defensible is execution, because only 1% can execute. You know, before TransferWise came into UK, there's Western Union. There's a whole lot of small, tiny little bits remittance company out there. But see what's changing their journey. It's the execution, the strategy, and the mindset to execute. And that, to me, it's the core strength of the team that we have at Sendit.money. Because when you look at our team, Julie and Bowen, Julie's my co-founder. I met Julie in Imperial College, was the operations manager for Central Walking. That's where we met 3 years ago. And we've all been friends. She managed over 40 startups, and I actually watched her get shit done. So I was like, I like her, she's smart. We became friends. And before we even started Sendit.money, we've all been friends. So we've developed our relationship. We understand the strengths and weaknesses. Rafal, our CTO, Rafal is built over various, he's an hands-on developer himself, but his core strength is security and cloud infrastructure. And Rafal is working with other developers as well in-house. Most of our technology is going to be built in-house. We're not white labeling anything. All the source code, all the IP is holding out. So I get to speak a lot to people like yourself, but then there's a whole lot of back office behind me that makes me function. And that's the reason I use that word we, because in my subconscious, I know that it's that team, it's that collective effort to build something for the world. We know if you solve a bigger problem in the world, you're going to make money. That's a byproduct. But the key thing is we want more companies in the world to be more conscious. I believe capitalism can't sustain itself. It has to be conscious capitalism. You have to build product that makes money, but makes people's life better in the process. And that's what we stand for. And that's what binds us together and Sendit.money. So to my team, you're watching this, you know, I love you all, and let's do this together.
Oh, that's great. And I think everything that you've said so far is just so honest and so true about the experience. You need that ripple effect. You need that community to be built. You need that team around you. And I feel like anyone watching this that's going to go in, potentially do their first equity crowdfunding raise, this advice is just so pivotal. Like, honestly, just stop, listen, and think, do I have that team? Do I want to build that community? Because, you know, it is going to make or break the campaign, in my opinion. Other than what you've said, is there any other like top tip that you could give someone going to run their first crowdfunding campaign based on your experience now having run one?
To me, there are four things I would like to tell anyone who is willing to do it. To me, my core strength is execution. So I'm one of those daredevils. So I don't get afraid of anything. So to me, it's like, just do it. If you don't start, you don't know. Yeah. You know, there's over 200 people today. I only know 40 people before we went live. Wow. And now I have over 200 people. I'm grateful to them, and the team is grateful to them that they're now supporting our journey. And to me, if I don't take that bold step to go, those people are not going to invest. They're not going to be part of our journey. And for a B2C company, it's also very great way to validate your product. It's the validation, because now any angel investor coming in or any other investors coming in subsequent rounds knows that this idea has been validated by various accelerators, even by those micro investors who feels those pain today. So the number one thing is you want to have your own network. You want to know that you can actually get 50% of how much you're trying to raise within your own network before you even think of going to crowdfund. Number two, you want to realize that you've been doing a lot of engagement in terms of the product to your own community. We have a minimum of 1,000 mailing lists before we went live, and we got a lot of conversion from those mailing lists as well. Do you want to have? I do like a quarterly. No, I do like a monthly investors update. So for every single investor that tells me no, I keep their record and I send them updates. Because they tell me no at that time, that doesn't mean they're not going to say yes 5-6 months down the line. And you'll be shocked, one of them actually invested £5,000 in the Crowdcube round. So to me, it's just literally being human. Connect with people, keep telling your story, and make sure that you keep people informed. People like to be kept informed because that's how you build that trust. And the final thing is just engage. Crowdfunding is about engaging people. PR works. I've seen people who use medias and PR. It does work. But if you want to get genuine crowd investors that will support your business going forward, you've got to treat them like human and be human with them. Be real, be honest.
Yeah. And I love what you said there about the following up and the engaging. I preach so much about following up, and I'm not very British in the fact that, like, I don't hold back. I will follow up. I read this really good article the other day about the follow up, and yeah, like, it takes so many times before the person trusts you enough. Like, if you just message someone one time, like you said on LinkedIn, you just message them one time, they don't know whether you're really serious or not. You know, you follow up with them and they're like, oh, this guy's a bit more serious about what he's doing. A month later, you let them know what's happening. They're like, he's still working on it. Wow, he must be serious. And then as you keep them updated with the money coming in, then you're also using the fear of missing out. Like, now there's 278 investors. Why am I not one of them?
Absolutely.
You know, maybe I should jump on board this before it gets even bigger. And it's what you've said there is just perfect in using your crowd in the best way possible. So, you know, I'd say that you guys have had a really great campaign so far. You are already overfunding and you've got about 20 days left. So I wish you all the best for the rest of your campaign. This next week probably is you'll see a bit of a lull. It's the middle period. It's always the worst. But as soon as you get into that countdown, like 14 days to go, 10 days to go, 5 days to go, ramp it all up again, because you'll be able to hit the big bucks at that point.
Absolutely. And we've started, just to round out, we've started saying that to speak. So we have over 400 people that are following us, actively looking at what we do. It's like, what's this guy all about? And it's been really amazing. And thank you as well, Jess, because it's all about giving back rather than taking. And to those investors that are following us, we're still thinking to invest, get in now. We're not messing around here. We're building a global company. And I'm an immigrant entrepreneur. And there's one thing about us, we don't give up. Go ask American investor. In San Francisco today, it's a rule of thumb to invest in immigrant entrepreneurs. And the idea is we know what it means to build something and be resilient. And resilience is cost to go. And for those who's invested, thank you very much. And for those who still thinking to invest, well, get in now until we become that next unicorn. All right.
Yeah, and you know, for those who have mums that were traders or also, you know, entrepreneurs, get on board now, because you'll also be rescuing their lives.
Absolutely. And I'm sure my mom she'll be proud of me once the product goes live.
We'll get her on the next interview and let her know how it came live. Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll let you get back to your day, and it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you, Jess. It's been a pleasure having me.